Yeah, greetings. Welcome. Coach Mishti, once again, we together at our Applied Professional and Executive Coaching show, a special one with a special guest and a special friend, fellow coach, Dr. Dumi Magadlela. Dumi, welcome, and we are very, very pleased to have you here. I hope you are keeping well.
Thank you, Coach Sam. It's wonderful to be here with you and Coach Mishti, with the rest of the viewers and listeners from around the world. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mishti, greetings to you. How is India doing?
India is doing great, and greetings, Coach Sam, greetings, Dr. Dumi, and greetings to all the wonderful coaches across the globe who have tuned in today to know more about the power of coaching. So India is all bright right now with the lights. It's the occasion of Diwali. So it'll be wonderful to wish everyone who's celebrating Diwali across the globe a very happy Diwali.
Indeed. We are happy for you. I'm told that that's a great moment. And from a diversity perspective, before we dive into conversation with Coach Dr. Dumi, for those who don't know what the occasion is all about, just in a few words. We need to recognize it. We can't be oblivious to that. What do you celebrate, and how is it celebrated?
So I'll keep it very brief. It's a festival of lights. So there are a lot of lamps and lights in Diwali, and families come together. A lot of sweets are there. And we also celebrate Goddess Lakshmi, because the festival of Diwali is associated with a lot of abundance and prosperity. So that's what Diwali is about. And on the note of abundance, I think abundance is also a mindset. And thereby I would like to wish everyone out there a lot of abundance at a mind, identity, and a being level.
Yeah, beautiful. Dr. Dumi will tell you that we have a big community of Indians in South Africa, and we know about it. And he is also quite very fascinated about diversity and inclusion, the Ubuntu coaching, and the Lakota methodology. So I think you're going to have quite a very interesting connection with Dr. Dumi. Dr. Dumi,
yes,
it's a wonderful pleasure to have you, and you are also being greeted on the line by our fellow coach, Colin Kivist from Comenza here in South Africa. He's saying, hello, Mishti, hello, Sam, hello, Dumi. This is the community.
That's a very good friend. Thank you, Coach Sam. I'm so glad that you're connected, Colleen, and I hope you're doing great. Thank you. It's great to have you and all the other coaches from around the world. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for connecting. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you for having me again. Yeah.
Beautiful. This is called Applied Professional and Executive Coaching Conversation. This show is a show that we use to connect with fellow coaches, to celebrate fellow coaches, promote coaching and across the globe, and Africa, India, the world. But today it's about you, Dumi. You have been doing some amazing work. Normally, I would want to ask you to tell us about where you come from and go through the whole journey of your profession. But I want us to really recognize this new award or recognition that you have received. But before we do that, just tell people a little bit about you, where you grew up, and then I think I will ask Mishti to engage with you around this recognition that the World Top 50 has given you. We wouldn't really go without recognizing that, but let's get to know you.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Sam. I really appreciate the platform. And Coach Mishti, I've seen your work. I've been on some engagements where I've seen you, and it's wonderful work that both of you, Coach Mishti and Coach Sam, and many other people behind the scenes of what this platform is. And I want to really congratulate you both for hosting it, for having having us here as coaches from around the world, from all walks of coaching life, coming to share on this platform. So really, really appreciate it. Yeah, my full name is Dumisani, which means honor or praise or give recognition, acknowledgement, not necessarily worship, but others say that, but recognize and give, almost like give credit. Really, the literal part is praise and honor those that you meet with, or whoever you believe to be your creator, with who you are. And I was named by my grandmother, who is passed on now. And my grandfather and my parents always said, everyone comes with different gifts. Now, you must use your gifts to impact your world. You must honor everyone you meet with your gifts. I was born and raised in a rural area, in a rural village, somewhere in Southern Africa. I'm not going to say where, because I don't like the borders that the colonialists put around us. I believe we are all just open. As Africans, we need to work towards removing these barriers to movement of Africans across the continent. So what matters is I grew up in a rural village, herding cattle. No running water, no electricity, no tarred roads. And I used to run 7 kilometers to school every day until high school, until grade 7. And then after that, managed to have opportunities to go to boarding school for 2 years. And then after that, went to university and ended up doing social anthropology and sociology, human behavior. Human science was the one thing that I always loved. I always wanted to be a medical doctor, but ended up wanting to be a lawyer when I was in high school, and then ended up in the social sciences, the behavioral sciences, and ended up doing a PhD in the behavioral sciences, and then ended up doing coaching, or starting coaching in behavioral science. And that's been the journey. And I think that was God's guidance, really. My creators and my ancestors and everyone that's watches over us, that energy and the power to say, no, this is where we're guiding you. You need to go here and not there. And finding myself where I am, I truly believe in human value and human worth and potential in any and everyone. And for me, I didn't find coaching. I didn't look for it. I didn't know that was coaching until an experienced coach who's passed on now, Dr. Edwin Nevis, was a leader in bringing Gestalt into organizations. I was part of an executive development program which was based in Gestalt Institute of Cleveland in the US. And I was one of few of 36 executives from around the world that were part of this program for over a year, about 18 months of program. You travel to different parts of the world, and you work in organizations in those parts of the world. You learn how to intervene in organizations. It's a systems-based approach to working in organizations, working with the energy of the system, of the team, of the individual, or the dyad, a two-person system, or the whole system, how to intervene to make a positive shift in the system. So I've been trained in systems thinking for all my life, really, starting from my grandfather, Coach Sam, sitting in a rural village, who was a village headman, which I'm supposed to be, but he told me there's a bigger village, the rest of the planet. So go and lead the rest of there's a bigger village out there. This village of a few villagers, it's for us who didn't see it inside of a classroom. So he taught me how to lead meetings. The Lahota process that you guys run, that I learned that from my grandfather, I used to sit there and then learning how to do that. And I've had the pleasure and the privilege of running similar meetings in the village as the council elder in the village, being able to be invited to run certain meetings to mediate between villages if there's a conflict of some sort. So that's me, and learning from, I call it organic systems of learning for coaches, We need to engage in these organic ways of learning and knowing. And then most importantly, organic ways of being how I am. And in my language, isiZulu, when we greet, Coach Mishti, we say, Sawubona. And I stretch my hand, shake your hand. Well, with COVID now, probably my elbow, and say Sawubona, which literally means I see you. And if I see you as you are, as you show up, I cannot unsee you. I need to see you and all that you represent. All your children, your family, your and your dogs and cats, and I see you and all that you are. It's similar to Namaste. But the light in me recognizes and sees the light in you. We are one. So we're talking the same thing here. And that is beautiful. So I grew up in that, Coach Sam, and this is how I live and lead my life. For me, I've started, written, and I'm currently writing a book. Well, it's actually 2 manuscripts, and the earlier one on Ubuntu has been on standby to finish one. And there's a whole chapters and sections on Ubuntu coaching, and most importantly, our viewers and listeners, I would love you to just make a note of this and write it down somewhere. Ubuntu Intelligence, which is a concept that if it's up to me, you're going to see a whole lot more of. UbuQ, or Ubuntu Intelligence. So UBU, capital U, a small b and small u, and capital Q, UbuQ, Ubuntu Intelligence. We have intelligence quotient, IQ. We have emotional intelligence, EQ. We have social intelligence, SQ, cultural intelligence, all kinds of intelligence. Now you have one more, UbuQ. And it means living the values of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are, starts with greeting, Sawubona, I see you, recognizing each other as amazing beings walking on this earth. And knowing that I can only achieve anything of meaning, of value, of worth, when I see the other and connect and create space for others to also be the best versions of themselves. And this is why I do the work I do. This is why I am a coach, and I don't just do coaching, but I am a coach. I live it every single moment of my existence. And I think out of the work I've done, Coach Sam, and that's why the Marshall Goldsmith and Thinkers 50 and others recognize possibly part of my presentations, my talks, my work, my writing, publications on Ubuntu coaching, and many others. I've been teaching coaching now for quite a number of years in a number of schools, universities, the coaching center, Stellenbosch, and now more recently with WBAC's Global Team Coaching Institute, which I absolutely love working on in really supporting team coaches to certify and be trained to become team coaches who can go into organizations and work with teams and deliver value for organizations through teams and teaming. It's the hottest ticket in coaching. So look out for look at this space for more on that. So let me pause there, and then you can come in and any other questions on that.
Great. Before I hand over to Mishti, I just wanted to say that there are many Gestalt institutes all over the world, but the Cleveland Gestalt Institute is and I really, I really admire you for that. I mean, that must be the best experience. And by the way, let me also disclose that you have been my teacher for the Ubuntu module at the coaching center, and that is where I've seen you really in live. And I really am grateful that you are taking this work to the world stage. Mishti, over to you.
I am so moved, Coach Sam and Dr. Dumi. It is very synchronistic. I was just doing a session on the introduction of psychodrama to the team, and I asked them to take on the role of someone they would want to, introduce themselves as to the team. So show an aspect of themselves to the team that they haven't seen before. And when they showed their aspects to the team, I asked everyone to say Sovabona, I see you. So it just happened like 1 hour before. So I feel the two important things in any relationship or any system of relationships is to be seen and to feel safe. And when I hear you, Dr. Dumi, I feel that it comes to you so naturally to create a space where people can feel safe and can be seen for who they really are. And I would be very curious and excited to know more about the Ubuntu Intelligence that you talk about. And I've read more about your work, and there'll be more questions pouring in later. But, to begin with, I just want to say, Savabona, I see you, and do share about the Ubuntu Intelligence with all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. And thank you, Coach Sam, for what you shared earlier. And our journey together, Coach Sam, for me, it's a wonderful privilege to see what you've done and the work that you continue to do. And I hope that there are more opportunities to grow this and the platforms that you guys share and what you've done. And the world needs us more now than ever before. So,
Absolutely.
Coach, Mr. On Ubuntu Intelligence, the best way to describe it quickly now in the limited time we have is to say that it is the ability and capacity and intention or intent to live with Ubuntu, or to live and express Ubuntu values and practices and ways of being every day in our daily lives, every moment, without being nudged by anybody to do it. It becomes our first nature to live with or live and practice and be in those values, to be expressive, our very lives, to be expressive of the values of Ubuntu, of interconnection, interconnectedness, and knowing that we are inherently, inextricably interconnected. And we are part of an ecosystem of both of human beings and other beings, not just human beings as in Homo sapiens, but other beings that coexist with us in this ecosystem. What we're seeing now with COP26 happening now as we speak is that the world is recognizing, too slowly in my view, that we are all interconnected. We don't need to be reminded by a planet that's warming up that we're connected and that we're messing up a lot for everyone. The worst impact of climate change, we know that in so-called developing world, and they are the least polluters. But the message in that is not to point fingers and blame. It's saying that let's find solutions that benefit all of humanity. But we need to have learned that already, that we are an interconnected species with other species. And we need to learn to see others as they are, as they show up. And we are too quick to, because the human brain, and neuroscientists have started this, that we are born with that natural affinity to connect with others, but we learn to separate, to disconnect, to fragment. And that's the smallness of the human mind and the human perception of life and reality. And the expanded version of who we are sees everyone as having value. But the limitedness of it reduces it to say, oh, you're short, therefore you're less. You're too tall, and maybe you're less. Or you're too dark-skinned or bright-skinned, or whatever superficial, meaningless attribute we give to how we show up. Everybody does it at some level. The higher being in all of us learns, understands, and knows that everyone has. Until someone that you think is less than does an incredible thing. And then it's like, wow. And then we start seeing them because they've done something that we admire. But they always had that before they did that. Why does it take an action of value or nobility or whatever for us to start to see their humanity. This is why coaching is sacred, in that it's non-judgmental. We see everyone as showing up as an incredible being. Everybody. You can't coach someone if you can't love them.
Yeah.
I hope someone can quote me on that.
Yeah.
You can't coach someone effectively, successfully, if you cannot love them.
And if you are not interested in their success, it is almost like you need another person to help you achieve your success, to help you magnify yourself. That's why it's so beautiful as coaches, and not to just always talk about our clients, but talk about ourselves and what it requires us to be able to do what we are called to do. And today, for instance, as a coaching community, and us here representing the broader community of coaches globally, we really want to recognize you. And I think to be among the top 15, being recognized by the Marshall Goldsmith and the T50 thinkers, it's not a small feat. It's not something that we could just sit at the corner and say, Dumi is one of the top 50. It means something. It means that the work that you have done beyond just doing coaching, but representing the coaching fraternity, serving on the board of the ICF Foundation, working with all these many institutions that are developing coaches. As I said, I came into contact with you at the coaching center. And as my lecturer, then I was just meeting lecturer Dumi. Little did I know that God was connecting me with you, and look what has happened since then. And look, now you're connecting with Coach Mishti from Mumbai. But tell us a little bit about it. And I know you're a very humble person. You wouldn't want to talk too much about your achievements. I mean, there are many more achievements you have achieved. But this one made me and Coach Mishti feel that we needed to put you on the pedestal. We need people to understand and to know what does it mean for you, and what is it, maybe before even we ask you what does it mean for you. Just tell us, how did it come about, and what is it to be among the top 50 thinkers in coaching and mentoring across the globe?
Thank you, Coach Sam. I'm going to come to that. I wanted to start by closing that loop, Coach Mishti, what you asked about Ubuntu Intelligence. I will share with Coach Sam after this, and people can go a resource on Ubuntu Intelligence that people can go and read at their own time. So to complete the I didn't feel that I answered your question or sharing more about Ubuntu Intelligence more, and I'm going to do that, but I want to leave you with this before I come to Coach Sam's question. Coach Mishti, Ubuntu Intelligence, a big part of that is relying more on your heart set than on your mindset. Living more from your heart center and heart-centeredness in connecting with others than making it a head thing. And then the bigger part, the expanded version of that is tapping into the knowing of the body. The body knows and the body shows. And that's another quotation I have in my book. And when I describe how to tune into another in a coaching session. Your presence, you are present all the time, but we switch it off when we listen too much to the brain, and it focuses on the narrow parts of it and that. Our bodies know, and this is why you feel goosebumps sometimes and you get the chills, because the body knows, but we haven't learned to listen more or better to it. So part of Ubuntu Intelligence is tuning in, is turning on our natural presence and relying on it more than we do on the brain. That's part of Ubuntu Intelligence. And I describe it in the chapter in the book on in an introduction to Ubuntu Intelligence for coaches. And Coach Sam, the Thinkers 50, for me, it's an incredible recognition. I mean, I'll take a top 500. I'll take a top 100. To be nominated on the top 50 blew me away. Like, wow. And from what I gather, I have no idea I had no idea. I knew people were interested in, oh, Dumi, would you take it if we want you to share this with us? This is going to be shared with other people that want to. And I thought these people looking for opportunities to collaborate on coaching and work. And then I think I did the TED Talk where I spoke about Ubuntu Intelligence and Ubuntu and on what was it called? And then I reintroduced again the topic of conscious connections, because I believe that human beings need to connect consciously, starting with greeting consciously. We don't greet consciously, and with COVID even worse. It's like I can't make contact, and I'll do the elbow or the ankle or something. There's not that much connection. For me, there's a greater opportunity to connect even deeper with that without making physical contact, because we are connected anyway. It's neurons. And human beings are more connected than they realize, and the energy system that we exist in. So when I saw that, someone sent me a message and say, "Congratulations to me," and I'm like, I was racking my brain trying to find out what are they talking about, and they say this is such an amazing achievement. I'm like, okay, and I didn't want to just ask them, because I was like, okay, I was trying to figure out what had I done, and that maybe they seen that there was a radio station that wanted to interview me for something else on coaching. And then there was a website, someone who had added me onto their list of speakers. And I suspected it must be that. So then when someone sent me a message with my name on it, I'm like, oh, okay. Because I know a very good friend and fellow coach, one of the pioneers in coaching, Dr. Monges Makalima. You should actually have him on your channel. Say to me, had a few years ago was on the list, and was like, wow, that is an incredible achievement.
I remember that.
Yeah. And we ended up on one local South African television station together, just celebrating that, talking about coaching and how coaching impacts lives, and that. And it was the furthest thing I thought I would be on that list, being celebrated as a leading coach, top 50 in the world. So for me, it's a recognition possibly of something that I've done or contributed to our profession. To be honest, Coach Mishti and Coach Sam, for me, it's actually the beginning of my journey really towards contributing meaningfully to our profession. I've been teaching for a number of years, coaching. I've been in human development for over 25 years, supporting people's development, teaching at university level, at corporate level, and on leadership and skills training. And then since being a certified qualified coach, I've never looked back. There's nothing I'd rather do. And one of the organizations I work for now, leading a development financing institution, which has employed me for the last 16 years. I do coaching internally, but most importantly, I do executive coaching, leadership training with coaching in organizations across the African continent. And almost all my training in coaching and leadership, team coaching, they've paid for that to develop me to be the coach that I am today. So credit to the Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA, where I'm still employed. I'm still working there. And it's an incredible organization that does incredible work quietly without being in the media and the limelight and that. And I hope I'm not going against the policy by mentioning them like that. So just to say that this to me is massive, Coach Sam, in that it says you're doing something meaningful. And it's coming at a time when I'm saying, I want to start making an impact. And I'm just starting making an impact.
I have, Coach, to have noticed that you have always been very intentionally not mentioning the DBSA as you do your public work. And I've always said, and I've worked for organizations before as well in the past that have really made it possible for me to be who I am. And I'm glad you are mentioning it today, because otherwise I wasn't going to ask you to mention it, because it's very important for leaders of organization to understand that when you have people and talent like yourself, it is for the world to see that talent at its best, and for them to have allowed you to contribute so immensely to Africa through your work that you do with them. And look at it now, that has taken you to be on the platform with the International Coaching Federation, meaning that you are actually taking the work out of Africa to the rest of the world. Yeah. That can only be beneficial to the organization and the country and the continent and the world.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought this up, because
thank you.
Even then, when you were my teacher at the TCC, you mentioned it only when we were in breaks.
Yeah. The DBSA is an organization that likes not in the limelight, get the work done thoroughly, effectively, and it's won many awards quietly, silently, doing the actual work and not singing in the public arena, but making sure the work gets done. And it's a very strong organization, strong governance ethos, very strong board, strong executive team and management, and with many senior professionals in the organization that have MBAs, masters, and all kinds of qualifications you can think of. Very, very strong in building quality capacity in the organization, in the team. It's a small organization, not even 100,000 people, but doing a lot of very good work. The results that the DBSA is shared show an organization that's done a lot of good work. But yeah, I want to move on from DBSA and focus more on what you guys are talking about and what our listeners are.
I mean, let's sit on this award. Coach Mishti, I don't know what that means to you, for you. I mean, the top 50, from your perspective. I mean, this for me is as a South African and African, maybe I must just keep quiet a little bit and ask you to reflect on what Dumi has just shared with us.
So there's so many powerful insights that Dr. Dumi has shared. Of course, this recognition just celebrates the work you've done, and you've done such in-depth work. In fact, while you were talking about systems thinking, it reminded me of the work of Peter Senge, where the fifth discipline in learning organizations, where he focuses on the whole rather than parts. And it'll be very interesting to understand that how do you connect systems thinking with leadership development and coaching, and align those themes based on the work you do. If you can also share some insights around that.
Great question. I really love that question, Coach Mishti. Leadership is short-sighted and limited and limiting if it does not take into account its context. And its context is largely systemic, because it's the interconnections of that. I mean, I coach teams and I coach executives, and most of those executives that I work with, you can't go through a coaching session without them mentioning the key stakeholders or influencers that they impact or that impact them. So already there's interconnection there. These are systems. So leadership is not an individual effort. And whether you're leading one person, a small team, or a whole organization, a whole community, a country, or the world, it's very important for leaders to understand how things connect. And this is why, for me, and here's another quotation for anyone interested: the greatest currency for effective leadership is relationship.
Wow.
The greatest currency for effective leadership is relationship. And it starts with learning how to manage relationships effectively. And the nuanced part in that, the fuel for that, and the energy that keeps it going is connection. And it starts with a conscious greeting. You've got to learn how to greet someone consciously. Many people don't know how to do that. I run webinars and teaching online all the time. And one of the things that I've seen works is a thorough check-in. making sure that you tune in, every person tunes in into the meeting. And if I could, I would get into where everyone is sitting, wherever they're sitting in their part of the world, and take their phone and put it somewhere where they can't access it, or any other gadget, so that people learn to really, really tune in into each session. People take away, like right now, someone's sitting with their phone next to them. Maybe it's on mute or something, but now and then they tune into it. That steals away from the gift of the moment of connection with everyone else in line, at least the three of us in this point. So it is very important to connect consciously. We connect consciously when we minimize distractions or interruptions in the moment or point of connection. For me, when I'm with a client, a coaching client, an individual or a team, I put everything away. There is nothing else. And no one comes into that space. Because it's a sacred moment. Coaching or human development in any form is sacred. It's a sacred process to have someone come to you and say, I'd like you to be my coach, or I'd like you to coach my team. That is something that we must be humbled as coaches, that we are doing this kind of work, because it is sacred work. And if as coaches, we don't see that, we lose sight of the value that we can make in the world. Because when we take it as sacred, which is what it is, we are able to give of ourselves to the service of others as they need it in the moment with absolute presence. Because that is what makes it work. Hence the currency of relationships that is ignited by conscious connection in those relationships.
Wow. Dr. Dumi, as you travel across the continent and do your work of leadership development and coaching, what lessons have you been picking up that coaches need to be appreciative of?
Wow. I love that question. And it's such a beautiful coaching question, because it's not a compound one with layers and layers of questions. It's one clean question. Thank you, Coach Sam. One big lesson I've learned is that as a coach, you never know enough about your client. It doesn't matter how many PhDs, masters, or coach training certificates you have. Every client is a massive classroom or lesson for you to learn. If you tune in and you listen, you will learn something that will build on and add to your toolbox. So why in the coaching center, we always say, as a coach, carry a large toolbox, because every client you meet will add to your toolbox. So you need to carry a large toolbox, and it's always growing, because there are tools everywhere, and you may need those tools in future. You never know when you need that tool, because otherwise you carry one tool, everything looks like that. Every tool the only tool you have is a hammer, you know what happens. Everything starts looking like a nail. It's about understanding that every context, coaching is powerfully, inherently contextual. And it means that for you to get the context and be present and available, because availability is not physical, it's really emotional, spiritual, and psychologically being in the moment. To be available in that way, you need to have the tools to do that. And one of the best tools ever is mindfulness, is meditation, is centering yourself before every client. And when I have clients in succession, I always build a 5-minute buffer in that to make sure that I presence myself to be available for the client. And I wash my hands, wash my face, or go outside and take a deep breath and a few moments of that. And really disconnect from the previous session and its energy, even if it's been brilliant energy and that, and be available for what my client brings in, or this one person or a team that I'm working with next, because I'm in the service of that client. Coaching is a service profession, and we can't do it if we're not serving. That's one of the lessons I've learned across my journeys across the African continent and around the world, that we are here as coaches to serve not just our clients, but their systems and their communities that they exist in, and the rest of the world, by planting or igniting something in them that they will go out and serve greater or better and having lit up their greatness by meeting us or connecting with us as coaches. It ignites something in them to want to be better, to want to serve better. This is why coaching and Coach Mishti's question about leadership and systems is so important. So to combine that question with yours, Coach Sam, about lessons from across the continent, is that it's all connected. Understanding that where I am now, I have to show up in the best version of me as possible. The lesson I've learned traveling across the continent is that everyone is trying to do their best. And some people will never realize their best because everywhere they turn, they're being shown their worst. And coaches are there to turn that around and help people see their own beauty. We must be mirrors of the greatness that's already within our clients.
It's very powerful, Dr. Dumi. Very powerful indeed. And you've been talking about communities. So I was reading about the book also that you've written for children. Authored a book for children on how they can develop Ubuntu Intelligence, like catching them young. So yes, that's beautiful. That's such a beautiful cover.
Yeah.
So
can you see it?
Yes. The Ubuntu Friendship of Beet and Egg. That's the title. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious to know, what does this title really represent, and how does it help imbibing those values in children, so we can catch them young.
Thank you for asking about that, Coach Mishti. It was a proud moment, and we wrote this book. I was a visiting professor in a university in Japan for a few months, and enjoyed the time of being a professor in a university. I always wanted to teach or work abroad like that, and so it was a privilege to really take my family with me and that. So every evening, my wife and I, in the Japanese society is really quite insular. We don't go every evening to a different family for dinner. We absolutely loved being in Japan. One country I would actually go and live in easily like that if I got an opportunity. So Japanese, I'm coming. The point that I'm making with this is that every evening we'd read them stories. So I got into it trying to talking about vegetables that spoke to children, that spoke to themselves and spoke to children. So you see, there's beetroot there and an egg. So there's vegetable and protein and that. So we'll talk to them about nutrition, about food, what to eat, and that. And our kids were relatively young then. And our daughter and our son, they loved listening to the stories, and they'd go to bed with every time we would build on the story about food that talks. And for example, the one that cracked them up is a vegetable basket sitting on a kitchen counter. And beetroot says, "Don't rub up against me because I will bleed," something like that. And then cabbage says, onion says to cabbage, "You got such a big head." And so they're teasing each other. And then beetroot, because he's always naughty, he says to onion, onion is sitting here smelling all good, but wait until he overstays here and he smells really, really bad. So issues about body odor, issues about how people look outside and inside and all that. And these are things children experience every day in the playground, in schools or in the parks, everywhere. So the book is meant to teach children Ubuntu values and coaching practices to start to see each other as everyone, every vegetable, every piece, every food has a nutritional value. It's different, but together you make a beautiful dish if you can put everything together. It's about understanding that, and the book is really out of that. And it was a start, and it's now a series of 3 books coming up. And this one, there's a new edition of it that's more coaching, because we want to build. This one wasn't that much coaching in it. There were lessons at the end of every chapter, but the other books, the other 2 books, it's a series of 3. The other books are powerful. The next one, this one is food talking to each other. The next one is food talking to children. And then the third one is food going to school and to the shops, as in going to a mall, how to behave, how to conduct yourself, and that. And anyone can read this. The fun part with this book is that it was printed many copies, and they were wiped out in a short space of time. So it's available on Amazon. And we had said to Amazon for free. It's not a commercial venture. It's just for people to read and to spread the message about Ubuntu values and concept of Ubuntu. And so you can go download it there on a PDF version and enjoy it, because that's what it's for. Yeah.
Wow.
That is beautiful.
And children, by the way, children can read it, but adults can read it too. We have adults that read for children. Children fell asleep, and the adults continued reading because they couldn't put it down. So much fun.
Beautiful. Coach Mishti, you have always wanted to read more about Ubuntu. Now, there you are.
Yes. I have a resource, and they say man never really grows up. He only learns how to behave himself in public. So the inner child in me would love to read that book.
Beautiful. I know that we invited you for a very short 1 hour to really congratulate you and celebrate your achievement. But I know we're gonna have you back. We have to have you back to spend more time with you and really to spread the message of Ubuntu Intelligence in coaching and generally. So if you don't mind.
Coach Sam, before you come in there, sorry, I'm being rude here, interjecting while you're in a trend of thought. I want to plant this seed to you and Coach Sam and Coach Mishti, that what I would like one of the subjects that I would love to talk about is team coaching, which is the hottest ticket in coaching, and Ubuntu Intelligence, especially team coaching, because the world needs highly functioning, high-performing teams everywhere. And it's how this is the one thing that every coach needs to expose themselves to. So, sorry, Coach Sam, I came in there. So I didn't want to lose that and forget it.
Thank you very much. And you and I, we have explored our early 2022 calendar availability. And I think we did say that somewhere around February or January, probably February, Coach Mishti, we could do that. But thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And I know of your work that you've started doing with WebEx around team coaching training. It's what do you call it? Global Team Coaching Institute, right?
Yes, Global Team Coaching Institute. In fact, just today, we're doing 2 modules. We did one in the morning. We did one module 2. We did module 1 last month, and module 2 now is 6 modules. This is the foundational phase for team coaching with WPEC's Global Team Coaching Institute, and it's led by Professor Peter Hawkins and Professor David Clutterbuck. These are the pioneers of team coaching globally. They've done incredible work, written books and everything about it. I'll show you one of the books. This is Team Coaching at Work. So working with him, Prof. David Clutterbuck and Professor Peter Hawkins on team coaching. So we'll share more of that when we schedule the session early next year on that, Coach Sam. Thank you.
Beautiful. Mishti, I know we're running out of time. I want us to use the last 5 minutes. This was just the taste of what is to come. And I didn't want to wait until February before we recognize Coach Dr. Dumi on this platform, because as I said, this is the platform for coaches, but we know that as we're talking among ourselves as coaches, we make it clear for our clients and general public to understand what we are all about. And I think Coach Dumi is bringing quite a lot of many other tools and also developments in the coaching fraternity. If we could just sum up for just this conversation, and also maybe share with our viewers what we think we should do going forward. I know I put you on the spot, but that's you and I, our style of engaging with our community. Coach Mishti, just your closing remarks, yeah.
So in terms of, so I'm sorry, I thought that there's some more discussion around that's going to happen. So I missed that. So what I feel is that there have been some incredible insights around Ubuntu Intelligence, and also the need to build high performance teams. Now, it will be very nice to understand some coaching tools and processes on how to really go about building high performance teams, and also link it with interconnectedness. Because even while building high performance teams, if systems thinking doesn't come into place, if you don't shift the mindset from a very silo style of working to just looking at the interconnectedness of all the forces at play, you will not feel the oneness. So I would be very curious and excited to know about processes around that and the book that you've written and how it all comes together. And it's been very enlightening to know about your work, and just your energy. It completely moves me and motivates me. So thank you so much, Dr. Dumi. So verbal, and I see you.
Dr. Dumi, your last remarks.
Wow. But Sam, thank you. And thank you for the work that you continue to do, not just for our profession, for humanity, because this is beyond the profession of coaching, mentoring, leadership development. This touches lives. Anyone who can connect to such a platform, they'll get something that will enrich, expand, broaden, deepen their own lives. So thank you for that. Coach Mishti, wonderful to meet you live in person. And really, I really enjoy your energy to what you bring into what you come with it. And being, I notice your presence, that you're really attuned and tuned in into the session and are really engaged and listening. And it makes connecting, engaging simple and easy. As I know Coach Sam, we work together, is naturally like that. So seeing two people like that, I see why you work so well together. There's that connection, that engagement, that energy. So it's wonderful. May you both continue to do this, and the team behind the scenes continue to do this wonderful work. The world needs more of these platforms. Let's grow them, expand them, and have as diverse speakers, guests as you can get. And may you be successful in doing this, and success ahead to Cometa and your whole network, ODA and others. Be courageous and brave. Step into the discomfort of doing more with this. It is needed.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. We are honored to have you, Dr. Dumi, and all the best, and enjoy the celebrations and the award. That was part one of our monthly show, Applied Professional and Executive Coaching show. We are built on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. Thank you very much. We'll be moving into part 2 with our next guest. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you.